Hello and welcome to Sophie's studio. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to cut glass, and for my purposes today I will be teaching Rudy, who is a complete beginner. I thought it would be best to teach somebody because then all the things that a beginner would find difficult will become apparent, and I might just move over them too quickly otherwise. So I hope you find this video useful, and I hope you will end up being able to cut glass well at the end of it. So thank you for watching. Please comment, subscribe and like. The first thing I want to talk about is the tools. And for glass cutting, you need a glass cutter. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but they are all essentially a grinding wheel. So if you see in the middle at the top, there's a little wheel. It spins and it's got sort of powdered diamonds. It's a diamond cutter stuck to it. Now, if you look at my hand, you can see that it's making a sort of mark here, and that is because inside my glass cutter is oil, and that lubricates the cut. Now, a cheap glass cutter won't have oil inside it, and it will cut, but it won't cut as easily or as consistently. This is spring-loaded so that when you apply the pressure, when you're cutting, it lets out a bit of oil. And without that oil, you won't get such clean cuts. So, when you are following a line, you have to remember that this wheel is about 1.5 mil in from either side, and you have to adjust to accommodate that. Now, the other thing you may need is a pair of grosers. They're like pliers, but they have one flat edge and one curved, and I will show you how you use these to nibble away towards a line. You always put the flat edge on the top side of the glass. And that's basically all you need to cut glass. So the first thing I'm going to do is demonstrate some glass cutting and see if Rudy can just copy what I've done. This is 2mm thick picture framing glass. It's very easy to cut. So I'm hoping it will give Rudy lots of confidence. You start at the very edge of the glass, and with firm even pressure you move to the far side and you listen to the sound of the grinding wheel, and that tells you whether you've got a nice cut. Come in a little bit from the edge. You don't want to be too close to the edge. Hear that? That's the sound you want. Thumbs either side of the line. You can see the line there, I hope. Snap. Rudy, would you like to have a go?
Yeah.
Rudy's left-handed.
So you put your there.
Yep.
And then you firm even pressure.
Except you're not on the glass at the moment. You've got to get as near to the edge of the glass as you can. Now, what's going wrong here? It's not working. You couldn't hear the grind. So what was going wrong there, and I'm going to exaggerate, is instead of it being completely perpendicular to the glass.
Wait, what do you mean by perpendicular?
Perpendicular means at a true right angle.
So it needs to be at a right angle to the glass.
If you're not, and you're like this, it will slide and it won't grind. The other thing is, if you have the angle too acute or obtuse, you're going to run into problems with this heel here. So have another go.
So it's got to be perpendicular.
It's got to be absolutely true.
So
and you'll get the feel for it. So it's hard to do it when if you tilt your head, you tilt your body, and that's quite hard. So just let the sound guide you. So what you're doing now is you're too acute. So you need to be more like that, because you're actually
I'm just scratching the glass.
You're just scratching it with the heel. Don't worry, it comes.
Okay. Do I put my finger there? Is that something that people do?
You need to hold the glass and stop it moving. You don't need a tremendous amount of force. It shouldn't move around too much. No. Try make it more acute, like that.
So if I hear like a little...
Let me just see whether I put my finger there. I think that's not what you do. I can't remember unless I do it. No, you put your finger further back, because if you put your finger on this, it swivels and you're going to be moving it with the pressure of your finger. So you need to have your finger on this brass bit.
So on the brass bit, have it parallel.
That's better. Try another one. That's better. Now I can see you're using a tremendous amount of force.
Should it not be that much force?
It's not necessary, especially on glass this thin. But the other thing I can see is, and the sound is telling me this, your angle is getting better the further away from your body you're going. And it should be true from beginning to end. So rather than flexing with your wrist, move your whole arm forward, possibly your whole body, making sure that you start off at the right angle, which is about this angle. No. Try again. Keep going until you get that noise. No. No.
Just try and mirror it.
No.
Okay. Right.
Perfect.
Can I snap it now?
You can snap.
That will not lacerate me.
Have a look at the line and put your thumbs either side. Now obviously you've done quite a few cuts until you got one, so I'm not sure which of these three it is, but it doesn't really matter. Sure. But that's the safe way to break glass.
It's a safe way to break glass now.
Now look, it's this line, so move over a bit. Yeah, it was that line.
Oh.
Well done.
It wasn't that line.
No, it wasn't, you were right, sorry. Oops. Right, okay, so let's try again until you have to really get the feeling into your body.
Is it like
and once you have, you never have to think about it again. You automatically just do it.
Wait, I can't tell.
Okay, the right way round is this way round. Not that way round. This way round. Rudy struggles for a while to get the right sound as he's moving his cutter across the glass. He's not got the wheel in contact with the glass from beginning to end. His angle is changing because he's moving his hand, his wrist and his arm rather than sort of shifting his whole body forward so that the angle of his cutter doesn't change. The oil in the cutter is from Bole, which is a glass products company, and I get it from Reading Stained Glass. Again, I'm trying to show Rudy that he has to keep the cutter very true at all times, and it has to travel forward in a completely straight run. Right, the other thing I need to just do is get a brush and sweep the workbench, because that's another thing you have to always do when you're cutting. When you're cutting, you generate tiny bits of glass, and if they are underneath your sheet of glass when you put it down, when you apply pressure to cut the glass, it can shatter the glass.
Has that happened to you before?
Yes. Not often, because I'm in the habit of sweeping my workstation. Rudy just slightly cracks the glass here by using too much pressure as he scores. Now on the 2mm glass, a light pressure was sufficient, and also actually a heavy pressure, as you saw, can shatter the glass. This is 4mm float glass. Float glass is what's in your windows, and it's generally a bit thicker and a bit tougher than the sort of glass you use for doing stained glass, but I realise that quite a few people watching this tutorial will really only want to cut float glass. So, same principle applies, Rudy, but you can use firmer pressure. Now I want you to try snapping it so you can feel the difference in the glass between the thin and the thick. Yeah. You need a bit firmer pressure with your wheel, with your glass cutter.
So should I put it
Yes,
there?
it should be in the base of your hand. Yeah. I don't know whether you can see, but his score lines are starting at about this level here. It won't break. Rudy cuts himself here as he snaps the glass. You need to put your two thumbs further away when you do the cut. You don't want your finger underneath the cut, like it is here. Okay, let me show you a trick.
I do not like breaking this glass.
Now this trick will help people who, like Rudy, haven't quite got a deep enough grind. You take the metal end of your cutter. Sometimes they actually come with a beautiful little weight, a metal weight at the other end, which is possibly a little bit easier than using the cutting end. And you tap underneath the score line and it opens the cut up. I don't know if you can see there, but the light is now playing on that cut line. And it's now run all the way to this edge. I could just snap it now, but I'm just going to open it up to the other edge. There you go.
Can I try that?
Yeah, of course. You may find that a useful technique if you're cutting window glass for the first time. You've scored it. You can't go back over a score line. That's the way to open the cut. Okay, that's nice. Now. Ah, beautiful. Look at that cut opening up. Now, why don't you just try snapping it now? It should be much easier. Sometimes if you've got a large sheet, if you were to tap it so much that it just fell apart, you might well break the piece that falls off. Slower than that, please. I'm going to show Rudy how to use this because it might help him. It shows you another way to snap the glass. So if you do your score line, you then carefully line the snapper up.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know what it's called. And that's a very easy way to do it. I think you can see how that's working. So do you want to try that, Rudy? Score line with the little pointer. So that might be an easier way for a novice, actually.
Yeah, that feels a lot safer.
Okay.
Wait, what's that?
Well, this comes with a cutting wheel. But
so that's a glass cutter as well?
It's a glass cutter as well, but this is very cheap. It's not lubricated. I'm not sure whether that would even cut glass. It just feels a bit rubbish. So I just use it to... Well, actually, I rarely use this because I don't need to, but it's good for a novice, so I'm glad I remembered to tell you about that. If you don't have one of these, so you've got your score line, you can do that, and that's another way to do it.
You know how with wood, sometimes in certain directions of the grain, it's harder to cut. Does glass do that?
When that is applicable is when you're using art glass, the sort of glass I use for stained glass. So if I show you this piece of glass, it has a bumpy side and a smooth side. This is machine-made glass, but it's made to simulate mouth-blown glass. And what happens is the glass is rolled out on a bed, and the bed is flat, but the roller has a texture. So one side of the glass takes up the texture. It's much harder to cut the textured side. So always cut the smooth side. There's lots of different textures you can get. I think everyone's familiar with what we call toilet glass. You wouldn't have a hope of cutting on the bumpy side of that. So you cut it on the other side. I think maybe we'll get you cutting this piece of glass now. With a piece of glass like this, you have to use your sense of touch, really, to find the smooth side to cut on. So have a go on that. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's easier to cut than float glass because it's more like 3mm, not 4mm. So the sort of pressure you've been using will probably be adequate for that glass. Now I'm going to show you how to use the roses at this point. So Rudy's score, it didn't start at the very edge and it's very faint. I may be able to break with the grozers. Yes, there we are. Now the action you want with the grozers, it's not just a straightforward lever downwards. You're actually pulling away at the same time as slightly pulling downwards. So you want to snap it while pulling in that direction. And where it's very useful to use grozers, there's a few occasions where it's useful. So let's say I want to take a very thin piece off the edge of this glass. Now, okay, I can do it. Okay, it depends how tough your glass is to cut, but let's say it's that close to the edge.
Wow.
It's hard because I can't grip it. So you take your grozers and you can take a nice thin piece off the edge. Again, down and pulling at the same time. Right at the edge. No, I wouldn't.
Can I try?
You can, but I'd say because you're left-handed, it would have been easier to...
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, don't say sorry.
I think that was an okay cut.
Stop! Flat side at the top. Have a look at the grozers.
So you want to grip it and then pull down and outwards. So.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, well that's you're obviously getting it now. Yeah.
Then we can just
Slightly
nibble
more.
that.
Yeah, nibble it. You see, that's what they're for nibbling. So Rudy seems to be getting on quite well, so I'm going to introduce another level of complexity for him, because we wouldn't like him to think it was all too easy. I would like you to follow the lines. Now, this will teach you how to accommodate the position of the grinding wheel, because I'm going to ask Rudy to follow either side of this line.
Oh.
So not just down the middle, that would be way too easy. I want him to become aware of his precise position on the glass.
Rough. That is so...
Oh, you're ready, you're ready.
Are you sure?
But what I will show you now, and for for the interest of the viewers at home is the fact that you can cut curves, gentle curves, in exactly the same way. Don't have to have any special technique. Straight lines or a curve like that is the same. So
that was really good.
thank you. Now, snapping, you want to pull away at the same time as you snap, a bit like we did with the grozers. It's very subtle, but if you were to just do that, you may lose this tip, which is a little bit vulnerable. So you pull away. So I just wanted to demonstrate that, certainly for gentle curves, this technique is completely adequate.